On today's show, I'm in Vegas. I've got notes from Summer League, including Jaylon Tyson, Naquan Tomlin. Also talk Tyrese Proctor and so much more. Today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Make sure to drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. And, of course, be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching this show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, brought to you by FanDuel, because right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is $150 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet wins with FanDuel. As you can see, if you're watching the show on YouTube, I'm not at home. I am in Las Vegas. I arrived in Vegas on Sunday, was able to be there for the Cavs' third Summer League game, where they defeated the Miami Heat. I've got thoughts from that. I've got thoughts from just overall the weekend. I know I didn't podcast after Saturday's Summer League game, but there's a lot to talk about for Vegas, so we're going to cover that. But I do want to say my Wi-Fi might not be great if you're watching this on YouTube. Might be a little off just because of the hotel Wi-Fi. But if you are listening to this on whatever podcast platform of your choosing, that shouldn't be affected. Audio should be normal, but the video might be a little laggy on this edition in the rest of the week while I'm in Vegas. But I wanted to start today's show with Jaylon Tyson, because I thought he was the best player on the floor in the game against the Miami Heat on Sunday. And I thought watching this game, especially in the second half, there were parts of it where I was like, you know what, Jaylon Tyson just looks like he's a little bit too good to be out there. Right. And that should always be the goal when you are talking about a Summer League player that is back there in year two, particularly when it's a first round draft pick, as Tyson was a year ago. And of course, the Cavs and Omar Cook said this before the team went out to Vegas, that this isn't some sort of punishment. This is something that should be looked at as an opportunity. And, you know, I did ask Jaylon about that after the game was over. And he talked about anytime he gets to play basketball, it's an opportunity. It's something he's excited for. This isn't he's not disappointed to be playing in Vegas. I think he's excited. And I think that there have been a lot of really good things from him. I think if you go back and watch what he looked like in Summer League last year versus what he looks like right now, I think that there are some positive differences in his game. I think some of them should be expected, right? Like he's somebody that in year two, as you know, I would hesitate to call him an NBA veteran because he's not, but he's a Summer League veteran, because most guys in this Summer League are not, multiple year guys, or they're not NBA players back for their second year. There are certainly guys that are back for 3, 4, 5 years that might not be NBA players, but they are, guys that typically end up playing overseas and can have very nice careers overseas. But Jaylon is, for all intents and purposes, a Summer League veteran. And I think that the goal for him coming into this was to look like somebody that didn't belong. I thought on Sunday, he really did look like that. I think that he looks like a much more confident player than the guy that we saw a year ago, than the guy that we saw play for the Cavs in the regular season this year. I do think that there are some notable differences just physically. Like, I think he looks a little bit bigger. I think he looked a little bit stronger. But I will say the thing that stands out to me the most, and it stands out to me the most, not because it's the best part of his game, but because I think for him to be successful with this current version of the Cavs, when we do get to the regular season, it's the thing that might be the most important for him. And that is the 3-point shot, right? Like, for him to be on the floor with the way that Kenny Atkinson operates the offense for the Cavs, with the way that the Cavs are built. If you're on the floor and you are not Jarrett Allen, you have to be able to threes. Like, when we get to September and October and start talking about, well, what is the rotation going to look like for the Cavs? And, maybe Jaylon Tyson will be in it. Maybe he won't be. I don't know. I can't tell the future as far as that goes. But if he's going to be in it, he has to be able to knock down threes, because if you go up and down that rotation, again, everyone other than Jared Allen right now on this roster is a legitimate 3-point threat. And Jaylon Tyson needs to be that. Now, I do think that his shot is never going to look perfect, right? Like, nobody's ever going to confuse his shooting form with Ray Allen or Klay Thompson, or just fill in the blank of whoever you think has the best shooting form ever. That's not what he's going to be. It's always going to look a little bit different. The ball just spins a little strange out of his hands. And truthfully, like, Karis LeVert was the same way. I think they have pretty similar rotation on their 3-point shot. But to me, Tyson's shot looks a little quicker and a little smoother. I think there was a hitch in it last year, and I don't know that it is completely eradicated, but I do think it has been cut away quite a bit. Again, doesn't have perfect shooting form, but I think it looks smoother. I think it looks quicker. And part of that, he said, was confidence. Like, he feels more confident, and he's put a ton of work into doing that, not only during this offseason so far, but throughout last season as well, when he wasn't playing a ton. He was still a guy that has a very, very high work ethic, and somebody that the Cavs consider to have a very high work ethic. So that is something that I do think has improved. And I think that the key for him to finding a lot of success with the Cavs this upcoming season, that's going to be a big part of it. Like, he's going to need to do that well. I also do think, and I don't know how well this will translate specifically to regular season rotation minutes with the Cavs, but I think he's somebody that, you can talk about the confidence with his jumper, and it's there. I do think he looks like a much more comfortable shooter, but I think there's a confidence in all aspects of his game that I'm not sure were there prior. I don't know if he was necessarily, and I don't think this is uncommon for a rookie, certainly for a rookie that is, when he's on the floor, asked to play for a team that has title aspirations. I don't know that he was always the most confident player. And I think that overall, not just the shooting, so much more than the shooting, overall, I do think that he was somebody that is playing with a lot more confidence than we've seen him play with. And I do think too, and I gather this from when you're at Summer League, like, the access is awesome, not necessarily for interviews and stuff like that, like I did with Jaylon. But you sit on the court when you're a media member. So I can pick up on things when I'm at these Summer League games that I don't get to pick up on during a regular season game, where we're in the lower bowl. We're nowhere near the floor. We're here. I'm the first row on the baseline. So I can see, and more importantly, I can hear a lot of stuff. And you can't do that during the regular season. One, the arenas are way louder. Like, Rocket Arena is so much louder than the Cox Pavilion on UNLV's campus, obviously. Like, that should surprise nobody. But you're also so much closer to the action that you can pick up on more things. And Jaylon is somebody that, when he was on the floor on the Sunday, one of the things that stood out to me is he was always talking. He's always talking to his teammates. He's communicating. He's trying to help out defensively. Like, there was a possession where Tyrese Proctor was picking up Miami's ball handler. I don't remember who it was. That's irrelevant. Full court. And Jaylon was communicating with him the entire way down the floor, letting him know if anyone was near him. He was trying to be that vocal leader on the floor. Now, right now, when the regular season gets here, Jaylon's not going to be asked to be the vocal leader of the Cavs. Like, that is just not going to be his role. It's going to be nowhere near his role. But I do think that that speaks to confidence. Like, if he is confident enough doing that in Summer League action, I think that's a good sign that he'll be a confident basketball player when he does get real minutes, if he is in the actual rotation for the Cavs. And that, I think, is a really, really good thing. That is something that, again, it's not something that we're statistically going to be able to speak about. It's not something that he's going to be expected to do in the regular season. But I think that if you kind of follow, okay, well, what does this mean type of thing? And then say, okay, well, if he is like that, it could be that he's just going to be a more confident basketball player overall. And I think that very much could be the case. Now, the one downside about the Jaylon Tyson experience in Summer League right now is, aside from the vocal leadership stuff, which, that is just, it is what it is and it's good. But he, in terms of the actual basketball stuff, while I've been impressed with what he has done, he's playing out of position right now. And I think that is something that we do need to mention, because Craig Porter Jr.'s injury not only was a bad thing for Craig Porter Jr., obviously, it was a bad thing for Jaylon Tyson. Because when Jaylon is playing for the Cavs in real rotation minutes in the regular season, when the games count, when it is important in a way that Summer League just isn't, he's not going to be an on-ball creator. He's not going to be playing like this point forward role that he's playing with the Summer League team right now. He's going to be somebody that, yes, will have catch and shoot opportunities. He's going to have off-ball cutting opportunities, which I think he's done well in the limited opportunities that he has had so far here in Vegas as far as those things go. But he's being asked to play a role on this team that he will probably never be asked to play in the NBA. Like, he's just never going to be asked to be a lead creator in the NBA. And listen, I've been impressed with him. I think he has done a phenomenal job. And I know he had 12 assists. I think it was in the first game last Thursday. I think he's done a phenomenal job in getting his teammates together. Like, he looks good doing it, but he's on a roster with how many guys that you would rather have doing it than him. So the one gripe, I guess, that you would have is, well, yes, he looks good and he's doing all of these positive things, and he looks like he's almost too good to be playing Summer League. Like, he sticks out in the best way possible. No, nobody's projecting him to all of a sudden be a franchise player, but you have to be very happy with what you've seen. But the flip side of that is, well, yes, but he's doing it in a way that he's not going to be able to do it on the Cavs. Like, I do think the best thing for Jaylon at Summer League was always going to be, well, Craig Porter Jr. is going to spend a lot of time on the floor with him. Those two are going to share the creation, because I do think that Jaylon in the NBA can be a good secondary creator, but he's not going to be asked to do it all. And he's not asked to do it all, but he's asked to do a lot more of it than he's ever going to be asked to do. Now, I do think that he's been able to handle that pressure very well, and the Cavs offensively, I think, have looked pretty good when he's been on the floor so far in Summer League. But again, that is the one thing that I look at and say, yeah, well, I just don't think that translates to when the regular season arrives. I don't think that translates to what he's going to be asked to do in October and November and December and so on and so forth. Now, it's a good skill to have. I think it's a great thing that, maybe one day he can be in that connector type role that Max Strus plays. But I also do think, okay, well, how much of this is because his usage rate is just higher than it's ever going to be in the NBA? And we don't know. But I do think that there are a lot of positive things to look for. I think so far the Jaylon Tyson experience in Summer League has been a really good one for him. I think it's one that will pay dividends for the Cavs as the regular season does get here eventually. Because I think that, listen, I don't know that he's going to be in the day one rotation, but I do think there's a spot for him in the rotation at a certain point in the Cavs. So he's had a good Summer League so far, in my opinion. Naquan Tomlin didn't have a great game on Sunday, but he's been the talk of Summer League so far for the Cavs. We're going to talk about the overall Naquan Tomlin experience, plus a little bit of Tyrese Proctor next, right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Hungry Root. Let's be honest, meal planning and grocery shopping, all that goes into it, making a list, checking it twice, having to go to the grocery store. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. Can be overwhelming at times, even between busy schedules, picky eaters like me, trying to eat healthy like I'm also trying to do. That's just a lot of stuff to have to worry about. That's why Hungry Root is the place to go, because they take the stress out of planning by filling your cart for you with personalized groceries and meal options based on what you like, and more importantly, based on what you need. Hungry Root uses their smart cart technology to recommend groceries, recipes, even supplements tailored to your preferences. Whether you're dairy-free, gluten-free, focused on gut health, or just trying to eat better like I am, Hungry Root has you covered. What you might love most is that with Hungry Root, you don't have to waste time at the grocery store stressing over what you have to buy and also stressing over what's for dinner, because Hungry Root has already figured it out. They've done the hard work has been handled by Hungry Root. So now you just get to enjoy. So take advantage of this exclusive offer, because for a limited time, get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA. That is LOCKEDON-NBA. Again, hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box. But wait, there's more. a free item of your choice for life. Again, go to hungryroot.com/lockedonnba. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. If you are watching on YouTube and this video might be a little laggy, I'm sorry. I am on hotel Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, my phone hotspot was not much better. But if you are listening wherever you get your podcast, that should not be an issue whatsoever. So Naquan Tomlin did not have his best game of the Summer League on Sunday, as he finished with just 11 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, was 4 of 10 shooting, but 3 of 6 from 3. But overall, I think the Naquan Tomlin experience at Summer League has been really, really impressive. Obviously, he came out of the gates with that 30-point game, thought he had another very effective game on Saturday, and he has been somebody that I don't know if it's fair to call him like the talk of Summer League throughout the entire thing, because obviously Cooper Flagg has dominated the headlines, and Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe sitting out because of a thumb injury. Like those guys, because they're top 5 picks, are always going to be the ones that dominate Summer League headlines. But I can say that when I got into Vegas and talked to some folks with the Cavs and talked to some folks that work for other teams and just people catching up with a lot of people around the league that I know, Naquan Tomlin was one of the first names that came out of everybody's mouth that I talked to. It's, wow, Naquan looks really good. Like he has been awesome so far. Multiple people said similar things like that to me. And it gets me to thinking about what Naquan Tomlin could be, because I do think it's very clear, despite the fact that one, he was, maybe late bloomer is the best way to describe it, but like he just was he's not a basketball lifer. He did not grow up playing organized basketball. So he is still, to an extent, trying to figure this out on the fly. And yeah, trying to figure out how to play in the NBA on the fly is a really, really difficult thing to do. But I do think that despite all that, he's somebody that I can't help but be impressed with his feel for the game. And typically when you talk about feel for the game, you're talking about like, it's always the coach's kid, right? Like somebody that grew up playing for their parent. They almost always have a great feel for the game of basketball. Naquan Tomlin has that. Like he knows where to be. He knows what to do. He never looks out of place. He doesn't get sped up. He does a lot of things really well. Now, how much of that, and obviously, I know this wasn't the case on Sunday, but the scoring for him has been there. It has been very good. But I do look at that and say, okay, well, because of the feel for the game stuff, I think that he is potentially an NBA caliber player. I just don't know. And I don't know either way, yes or no, because that's how not knowing works, actually. I don't know how much of this scoring is translatable. Now, the shooting, I think if you can shoot at one level, you can shoot at any level, right? Like, I don't think that if you're going to be a 45% shooter from 3-point range in the G League, you're not going to go up to the NBA and all of a sudden be a 25% 3-point shooter. You might not be as good. You might not shoot 45, but you're still going to be good. I think that he can get buckets at almost any level. I don't know if he can at the NBA level. I think it'll be an interesting thing to find out this year, because what I do think we've seen from Naquan is that he is good enough to the point where if a year from now we are in Vegas, and I'm not talking about Naquan Tomlin because he's not playing in the Summer League. I'm talking about whoever the Cavs take in the first round next year, because they do actually have a first-round draft pick. But we could be, when we start to, maybe a year from September is better, when we start talking about potential rotations for the 2026-2027 Cavs, and we talk about Naquan Tomlin as like, hey, maybe he can be like the 9th or 10th guy. I don't think anyone should be stunned by that. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm not making that prediction because I genuinely don't know. But I do think that he is intriguing enough to think, okay, this guy could have an NBA future because he's such a late bloomer, so late to this game. But because of the skills that he's flashed only here in Summer League, but also in the G League with the Charge, and the fact that he was able to be on a two-way at the end of last season and be around the Cavs just a little bit more, I do think the Cavs like him a lot. And I I hesitate to say that it's important Naquan Tomlin works out, because in a vacuum, you look at an undrafted player who's on a two-way, didn't start playing basketball until later. To say that that guy needs to work out, like, that's just hyperbole. That's not true. But with where the Cavs are at right now, just financially, where they are living in the second apron currently, and they are going to be, for the next couple of years, they're going to be hamstrung a little bit with how they can build their team. They can't go out and sign big free agents. They don't have, the taxpayer mid-level exception or the non-taxpayer mid-level exception or a room exception. Like, they don't have these avenues to go out and sign free agents. So what I think is very important for the Cavs, and they have done this relatively well, they need to hit on somebody that is undrafted. They need Jaylon Tyson to pan out. Tyrese Proctor being good would be a very, very good thing for them. Sam Merrill, a prime example of this. They need to, Dean Wade is another good example of this. In building this roster, they need to win on the margins. And Naquan Tomlin, if he's good, if he is, an NBA caliber player, he is the type of example of winning on the margins. Because if they can find an 8th or 9th guy that was an undrafted player that's on a two-way, and let's just say that, later this season, let's say everything goes well for Naquan Tomlin during the season, and he has a great year with the Charge, and he plays a little bit with the Cavs and does well, and you can just see a future there. So he then ends up signing a multi-year contract in March that is the rest of the season guaranteed, next year guaranteed, and then 2 team options after that. Basically the same contract that Craig Porter Jr. is on right now. If you can find a contributor on that deal, that is a huge win, because the Cavs will need to find somebody like that. They're going to have to find a win at the bottom of their rotation that is very, very cheap. And maybe Naquan Tomlin could be that. I don't know. But I do know that they're going to have to hit on somebody, whether it is Jaylon Tyson or Naquan Tomlin or Tyrese Proctor, who we're going to talk about in a minute here, like a Dean Wade, like a Sam Merrill. Craig Porter Jr. hitting this year would go a long way in terms of the Cavs being able to find that ability to find a rotation player on essentially a sub-rookie contract. That's important for team building when you are in the financial landscape that the Cavs are in right now. So maybe Naquan Tomlin works out. I think that he does have a bright future. We'll have to see a little bit more. We will see how this year goes. But if the conversation around him is different this time next year in a good way, I think we should all be thinking back to this week. And I know I will be thinking back to the conversations I had on Sunday with people where it's like, yeah, we kind of saw this coming with Naquan Tomlin because he just looked a little bit better than almost everybody else at Summer League. All right, I promised Tyrese Proctor talk. He didn't have a great day. We're going to talk about him. We're also going to talk about some other guys on the roster that I think are worthy of talking about because they have shown some flashes, what everybody loves. It's all straight ahead right here at Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports in full swing, whether you're all about baseball. Hey, baseball a little bit better right now in Cleveland as the All-Star break has arrived. Golf on the green, I certainly love that. Or high-stakes soccer action, which I have no idea about. FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Getting in on the game, that sounds fun. Getting sunburned at the beach, no, thank you. Do not want that. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Yes, you heard that right. New customers with FanDuel can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com to get started. So Tyrese Proctor didn't have the best day on Sunday, but I do think that I have come away from his Summer League experience so far impressed with a couple things, but I do think wanting a little bit more on some other things. But part of that too, I think we have to have a little bit of realism. Like, he was the number 49 overall pick. And I do still think that there is a rotation player there. And I am not going to overreact one way or another to Summer League. I went into Summer League thinking there was a rotation player there. I still think there is a rotation player there. I think the shot looks really good. I just think that he has awesome form on his jumper. And I think the longer he plays, the more he's going to make. Like, I just think he's going to be, I think his NBA floor is probably like a 36% three-point shooter. And if he can be that, that is close to being a rotation player. If he's a 38% three-point shooter, that's a rotation player. If he's a 36 guy, he needs to do some other stuff. I think defensively, he's solid. I do think I thought in the first game, he didn't look great handling the basketball. I thought Saturday and Sunday, he looked better. I just thought he looked more comfortable. And I do wonder if that were some first game jitters, maybe with Proctor, as far as what he was going through. So I will be very curious on Wednesday to see what he looks like as far as that goes, because I do think that there is certainly a lot to be excited about as far as Tyrese Proctor goes. And then Tristan Enaruna, the guy from Cleveland State. I've been very impressed with him. He, I think, has been very aggressive. I think he has been somebody that is really trying to go out, earn a two-way slot. I think there's a good chance that is with the Cavs. Like, I would not be surprised if he is on a two-way slot with the Cavs. And they do right now, just to reset where the roster stands with Cleveland. They've got 13 players under standard contract, which means they do have to sign at least one more guy to a standard contract, because you do need to, for the vast majority of the season, you need to have 14 guys on standard contracts. I would be very surprised if they have 15 guys on standard contracts. But they also have two of their three two-ways filled, NaeQwan Tomlin and Luke Travers. I could see that third two-way. I think that could make a lot of sense. I think that he has been somebody that has been, of the guys that are not super connected to the Cavs, right? Like, Niang is a draft pick, and we know he's not going to be on the roster this year. He's going to play overseas, but he's connected to the Cavs. Like, Enaruna does not have that connection. I think that of that group, he is by far the one that is most likely to grab that third two-way. I've been impressed with what he's done so far, and he had a terrific game on Sunday against the Miami Heat. He played 24 minutes, was 9 of 12 from the floor, had 19 points, 4 rebounds, a pair of steals, a block. I thought he was really, really good, certainly offensively in that game. So we'll see if he can continue that, but I've been impressed with him so far. And then Saliu Niang, he, I think, can be a good defender in the NBA. I think that everything else, everything on the offensive end has a long way to go. But he is somebody that I think is going to be back in Vegas next year on the Summer League team, and we will kind of check up on him then. And maybe at that point we could say, well, maybe a year from now, his offense will be in NBA ready shape. So that'll be a thing that I think is interesting to follow. But I do think that he has the defensive skill set of an NBA player. I just don't know that he has the offensive skill set of an NBA player. So we will have to wait and see how that pans out. But thank you for making today's edition of Locked On Cavs your first listen. Thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every single day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Make sure to drop a 5-star rating, leave a nice review, and of course, be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And as we get out of here on YouTube, if you're watching the video, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell. And I'll be back tomorrow talking more about the Cleveland Cavaliers.